is multiple times bigger. There was a giant mushroom cloud in one video I saw. Do we know what is by that port? Could there be some sort of, I don't know, explosives depot, storage area there?
I mean, at this point, it's really too early to say. But I mean, as you said from the videos being shown on social media, the explosion was completely extensive. And the injuries have been extremely bad. I mean, I've seen people come out with multiple head injuries, people bleeding from multiple areas, and they're progressively coming out more and more, particularly from this area, from downtown, where people are coming out from the hospital when it looks like it's closer to more the epicenter of the explosion. There's been people also coming more and more ambulances, particularly in this area, coming as they're obviously taking the injured, which have come up the road. So it seems like a devastating picture at the moment, and the medical services seem completely overwhelmed at the moment.
Right. Owen, stay with us. We're just going to turn for a moment to Linda Tamim, who can also join us live from Beirut to tell us what she's been seeing since this massive explosion occurred. Linda. Yeah, tell us what you heard and what you've seen so far.
Well, okay, I was in the car coming from the main highway, and all of a sudden I could see it kind of light out in the clouds, and this is bizarre because at this hour of the day, when the sun is out, you cannot possibly see any lights up in the sky because of a projector or anything like that. But shortly, like a few seconds after that, all I heard was a massive explosion. I'm literally deaf until this moment. And I've reached Mar Mikhail at the moment where everything, like all the glass is on the floor. I see hundreds of injured people around me. I've seen civil defense ambulances rushing here to pick up the wounded, and I can still see a massive cloud of black smoke right in front of me. It's hard to breathe. All the roads are blocked. Everything is closed. I literally feel like I'm in a war zone. It kind of brings back memories of the 2006 war.
Okay. Linda, I mean, do you have any idea what is actually out by that port? Because as I was saying with Owen, this looks as something just beyond an explosion. This was a giant mushroom cloud from some of the pictures we're seeing.
Yeah.
What is out there?
I was told initially, that it could be possibly an explosion against the Prime Minister of Haiti, but essentially it was ruled out. I did hear that there are gas tanks over there before, and something could have triggered, like I think something, I'm not exactly sure what yet. I don't want to put words in my mouth that are not correct. But I did hear that gas tanks were over there, and something must have triggered the explosion, which was actually massive, as you said earlier, massive enough to literally rock the entire capital and the others. So I'm still waiting for reports to come out about this, but it's definitely something related to gas tanks around the port area.
Okay, Linda, stay with us for just a minute. We're going to cross back to Owen Holdaway, who's also live for us there in the Capitol. Owen, whether this was an attack, God forbid, I mean, either way, if it was an accidental explosion at some kind of storage depot there, we don't know yet. But this comes at a very difficult and unstable time for Lebanon. Give us a bit of context of, what the country has actually been going through in the past few months.
I mean, the country itself has been suffering from deep economic problems, and this. I mean, as you say, there's no knowledge about who's behind this at the moment. But the issue is that the country's been suffering economically. So the strain, just particularly on the healthcare services, which at the moment are already overwhelmed by the spiking corona cases, has just been magnified exponentially. I mean, I'm seeing multiple people with blood just coming out, and there's ambulances been coming, but nowhere near enough to treat a severe proportion of people who've been injured in this moment. So I mean, in terms of dealing with the immediate aftermath, the healthcare system, and particularly, the medical services, they're going to be vastly overwhelmed. Additionally to that, because of the bombing, or the alleged bombing, or the explosion, or whatever it was, it's near a hospital. It's also destroyed a lot of that infrastructure. So, the issue here, I think, a lot at the moment is the healthcare system and the medical system is completely overwhelmed at the moment, treating coronavirus cases on top of the mass casualties that have come from this explosion.
It's just remarkable. Owen, tell us a little bit more about we said this explosion seems to have occurred near the port. What else is out there? Is there also a residential area out by the port?
I mean, in terms of the area, this area is a very highly populated area. It's an extreme sort of tourist area. Many people used to come here. A lot of people, though, were in because of the curfew that was implemented because of the spike in coronavirus cases recently. But in terms of the population of the area, the Jatawi area, the kind of Mamam area, the area where I am at the moment, it's a highly populated area, very densely populated. A lot of flats, a lot of people, live very close quartered. So in terms of even within Beirut, it's a very densely populated area, and that's why I think the mass amount of injuries and casualties are coming out at the moment, because the explosion happened in such a densely populated area of Beirut. And as I say, the healthcare system and the medical staff seem literally overwhelmed. I've seen progressively more and more people come out of various buildings, not even directly from the hospital, but in terms of locations just surrounding, just literally being injured from the shard blasts. I mean, I myself, in my building, when the explosion happened, if I had been on the balcony, I would have been severely injured myself. But touch wood, I wasn't. But a lot of people who also live within the area weren't so lucky. So I think the proximity and the intense urbanisation of this particular part of Beirut has caused a mass amount of injuries and casualties.
Yeah, and Owen, I mean, you're saying with the healthcare system under so much strain right now, and general anxiety over the political instability in the country, this is just an awful event to have occurred at such a difficult time right now for Lebanon. But as we can't stress enough that right now we actually don't know the cause of this explosion. We are hearing some witnesses continuing to refer to it as a bomb, but we don't know if there was any intentional attack involved here, or if this was an explosion at some kind of storage depot. We are still trying to find out those facts. But either way, it has left the people of Beirut even more on edge than they have been in these last very stressful months in the country. Owen, do stay with us. We're going to look at other news now, but we're, of course, following all the details of the story and waiting for more information to become available. So Owen will be with us. Owen, we'll leave it there for now. Thanks so much for that. Let's turn now to Zimbabwe, where protests across the country are likely to continue against President Emerson Mnangagwa in spite of a crackdown on anyone showing dissent. Now, the spokesperson for the main opposition party, the MDC Alliance, an award-winning writer, and several prominent journalists